Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, and welcome everyone who's here on time to the Saturday morning reading and discussion of Bhagavad-gītā As It Is. And as emphasized by our group, we use the original edition that Prabhupada authorized and printed in 1972. Yes, someone made a point about editing. The books had been edited during Prabhupada's manifested presence. Yes, that's true. And Prabhupada wanted that to be done so that the books would be recognized by others in the academic circles, because he was trained in India. He went to a Scottish school in Calcutta and was actually aware very much of Christian teachings, because they had the students read them every day. So Prabhupada became familiar with Christianity, like we are. We're aware of it. They tried to indoctrinate him. That's what Christians do. They indoctrinate people. They use religion as a tool to manipulate people. And that's a history that has gone on for a long time. Manipulation of people, misrepresentation of people, of knowledge and truth to manipulate people. And this is the way of the conditioned souls that live in this material world and are very confused because they think they're the body. That's why. They think they're the mind. You know what the mind does, Mother Ruchisha? The mind speculates all the time. And also, the mind is very fond of concocting mental speculation and mental concoction. And it just goes on and on and on in this circle, this circus of material existence. It's just a phantasmagoria. It's a very interesting word, isn't it? Phantasmagoria. We got that from Prabhupada, actually. That Prabhupada really illuminated all of us with information we didn't have before, including how to speak English at a certain level. He was an expert in the English language, being trained in Calcutta in the early years at that Scottish school. And this is the business of the spiritual master, to train the disciple, to give him proper direction. But does the disciple listen, Michael? Not normally. And I wanted to make a comment about our God brothers and sisters. You know, Prabhupada did attract a lot of good people. Yes. And they did commendable service. It's true. And I liked a lot of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. I found it a great family. And wherever I went, it was just blissful. I used to travel quite a bit back in the day. And I remember fondly going to India, to the Mayapur festivals, and I just saw Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, a video online of Prabhupada coming down the steps of the main building there that they first built, that first one. But it wasn't built. It was in the early construction in 1973. And it was very rough. If people really understood what it was, they would see that the whole thing has come a long way. It's a whole different world there. Back then, it was very primitive. It was very primitive. It was an adventure, Michael, when we went. It was far beyond our realm. In Canada, say, for example, in Hamilton, I'm in Hamilton, a steel city. All of a sudden, they end up in Mayapur, Navadvip. Unbelievable transition from here. Factually, when you came back from India, what were you experiencing when you got back, Michael? You were experiencing cultural shock. You went there, you became exposed to a whole different world, a different reality. And in the case of Mayapur Dham, it was transcendental reality. Very different. And so Prabhupada had us come to India. We were blessed to be there. I remember when we were in Mayapur in that building, there wasn't the wall at the time, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. It wasn't there, remember? So everybody had to sleep on the second floor. I think I've seen a picture of it. There was like 50 devotees sleeping on the second floor on the concrete. And by the way, 45 of them were fiercely ill. You know, when we went to India back in the day, the conditions were very difficult, and a lot of people got all kinds of stomach disorders. It was just common. And but everyone went there. It was a great experience to be there with Srila Prabhupada in the Holy Dham, the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya. And Prabhupada had a tremendous pastime of preaching. Yes. And we are all part of it. Think about it. I was mentioning to Ram Raghava today, this is a pastime. Like, for example, even our current situation with the Hare Krishna Society and the PDA. It's a pastime. What's the pastime? The pastime is protecting Prabhupada's legacy by printing and publishing books and information which will give the truth of the matter of his mission, how he became and what he did to propagate Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada's message to the Western-speaking countries. And we're simply carrying on with the mission. We're not creating a mission. We're serving a mission that he created. Very interesting difference. A lot of people that concoct, oh, well, Prabhupada made me a guru. Now I'm going to go and do my mission. Just saw my godbrother, I'm not going to mention his name because he's up every day now on social media. He does these video clips. Oh yeah, okay. Mr. Preacher, trying to explain how to please Krishna. You have to please your spiritual master. I said to him, do you understand what Guru Tattva is? What spiritual master are you talking about? You? Is that what you think? Just about 6 months ago, you were a lunatic, and now all of a sudden you're an expert transcendental pure devotee of Lord Chaitanya? Come on. What the heck is this? Just think about it, Prabhus. Vijaya Pandit. Recently, last year, one of our godbrothers, not mentioning names, sannyasi, guru, so-called pure devotee, all of a sudden, he gets involved, it is exposed, not just that he's been involved in relationships with his secretaries. Oh, what the heck is that? You running an organization that's supposed to be promoting pure devotional service and protecting the disciplic succession, and one of the members out of 150 so-called gurus is now a sannyasi, loaded bank account, beautiful women, not so beautiful, but whatever. And at the same time, he has all kinds of illicit activities going on. Whoa. And what's happened? Since that happened last year, what has happened? He's disappeared. Do you notice that? The whole thing has been covered up because they are living a lie. They're a fraudulent group of people, and they're operating on the basis of misinformation and manipulation. And they're manipulating people's minds so that they can promote themselves. That's the fact. And it's a sad case. But let's not get too upset. Why? Because everybody does it. It doesn't matter if you're government people or you're spiritual people, they're Christian or Muslim or whatever. These people that are materially motivated and use religion as a means to control people are everywhere. And it's also been introduced into Prabhupada's mission. And it is what? What is it? Let me say what it is. And everybody that's listening on YouTube as well, it's cancer. Have you ever had cancer? Cancer is a serious disease. It rots your body. As you know, we had a recent experience. One of our godbrothers had cancer of the liver, cancer of the lungs, and cancer of the colon. And what it did was spread throughout his body. It collapsed at Raghava. This bag of blood, pus, stool, and urine. Oh yeah. This beautiful so-called liquid beauty that we have. It's not really that beautiful. I won't talk about the pastime right now Prabhupada gave, but the fact of the matter is this material world, this situation is a pastime. And Prabhupada suffered. Yes, he did. And do you realize, I've been talking to Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu about this, how difficult Prabhupada's work was after he developed his mission, how complicated it became with 4,700 disciples, most and all marching around to their own tune, this way, that way, upside down, backward, up, all around. Sounds like a rap song. This way, that way, upside down, all around. That's the way it went, and that's the way it's become, and that's the cancer, and it's not a joke. So what we're going to do is we're going to move forward. Last night, our good friend Ram Raghava, he sends me a reminder notice to send over the material for today's class. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do it. So I prepare it all and send it over. And guess what I discovered this morning? He sent me a note. Where is the stuff? I sent it to somebody else by mistake. This technology thing can drive you nuts, eh, Michael? You just, so many accounts, so many people. We have 30,000 people in our network too, so it's all kinds of things going on. But nonetheless, I resent them this morning, and I wanted to go to them. I read them last night. They're very informative. And we're coming to the end of the diary, this particular diary, the beginning. We're coming to the end of it. And we're kind of interchanging different sections now, the diary, and then we've got this fantastic reading in the middle of the program of the unauthorized biography. And then we're putting in other inserts. We're going to the Krishna book. We've been at the Nectar of Devotion, like all different types of information that we're channeling to our God brothers and sisters on this program. To try to keep we're evolving this, just so everybody knows. We're not big stars. We're fumbling forward, trying to do things better as we progress in this pastime. See it as a pastime. Because before you know it, Neela Sharma, I won't be here and you won't either. What do you mean? Aaron Singh, you won't be here? Ron Singh refers, you old devotees. Well, the body is getting older, but the fact of the matter is we are eternal spirit sparks, parts and parcels of Srila Prabhupada's mission to protect the message of his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami, that we do not change anything for personal reasons. Very important. Don't do it. And simply present this philosophy without any fear. There can be fear. I got somebody, a prank, calling me all the time, at night, all night. And doing all kinds of things. I just shut my phone off. What the hell with it? I guess that's one of the risks when you put your name up, your phone number up, then people went, I don't care, go ahead. Anyway, we're going to go to this historical explanation, and it's been repeated over and over again. So excerpt from a letter to Bhaktivedanta Dāsa written on September 9th, 1976. Prabhupada, New York is very much attractive for me because New York is the starting place of my activities in your country. And when I had no place of preaching, one American gentleman offered me a 2-story building in Brooklyn with a nice hall downstairs for only, $125 per month. But at the time, I was paying only $70 for my apartment, and I could not bear at the time to pay $125. That situation continued for at least 1 year, and then I was bold enough to accept an apartment for $200 In this way, the society extended with so many branches, and now you are paying $1,450 per month. So it is very encouraging. Notice he's referring to dollar amounts. I thank you very much that you've already allotted a nice apartment for me, an entire first floor. So if I had the wings of a dove, I could fly immediately to Brooklyn and enter my apartment. And anyway, in future, I wish to go there. For the time being, keep it nicely by the grace of Krishna. Wherever I go, all my disciples give me a very nice place for residing, and in Calcutta also, Sriman Achyutananda and Sriman Jayapataka, who are going to be sannyasis tomorrow, they have given me a very nice apartment. So now I'm 75 years old. I never thought how far I should be able to travel such a long distance, but as people say, I'm still younger. Then maybe sooner or later I shall come back to New York again. Very interesting. And we'll read this next section, which is a summary of his hardship as he was going through his evolution in New York City, how he went, how he was suffering in his pastimes with the association of American people. Prabhupada, this is an excerpt from a room conversation with His Divine Grace, September 13th, 1976. One boy, he was coming to me in that about 171st Street, and all my things were stolen. My tape recorder, typewriter, fortunately, they did not touch my manuscript that I was typing my books. Actually, you know who stole it, Yaśodā? I believe, and you may correct me, that Kirtananda tried to steal the manuscript and have it printed under his name, Keith Ham. Some money was stolen. Then one book, he was coming to me. He told me, please come to my place, aloft the Bowery Street. Yes, I did not know the Bowery Street. It was not a good quarter, all bums and drunks. When I see there one Jewish friend, he had electrical shop. He told me, Swamiji, you've gone to the Bowery Street. Oh, it is not your place. I did not know that it is full of drunkards. But they were lying down in front of my floor. They were very respectful. Excellent. Where did I go? These drunkards comes and they respectfully give me way. So when he was coming in, they would be polite to let him access to go up to the third floor. And they would lie down on the urine, and sometimes like that on water. Then the boy who took me there, he was Murray. His last title was Murray. But he was taking, Paul Murray, he was taking LSD. It's a dangerous drug, LSD. I went there. He did not go to work. Otherwise, he was working and getting daily 20. I went there. He did not go to work. Otherwise, he was working, and getting $25 to come back. He was working. Since I went, he stopped working, and I had to pay $125 for the loft. And remember this, everyone. Prabhupada was giving money on a regular basis to him, $5, $10, $2. One lady was the landlord, so I was going on. Some people were coming. Then Mukunda began to come, his wife and another black boy, half black, Yirgan, Yaripati, I gave him the name, Karapati. He was coming, and then one day, that boy, Murray, he showed some crazy features, so I thought it is dangerous to live with him. Yes, I remember that, So I approached Mukunda, Michael Grant. Mukunda had no place. Still, I asked him. So I kept my goods at Mukunda's house very shortly, not very much time, and went to live with Jürgen. That is another loft. So in this way, with great hardship, Sometimes here, sometimes there. In this way, I got $200 by selling books. And then I asked Mukunda to find out an apartment, and he found this apartment, 26 2nd Avenue. One storefront down and one living quarters up. And that was opulent for Prabhupada. It was just a simple room. So I found it very convenient. Down I would give the lecture and hold kirtan. So he charged $75 a month for the apartment. It was a small apartment. Yes, I think in the space like this room or less than that, everything is there. Prabhupada would put his trunk as his desk, Tom. He'd have a trunk. He'd put his desk and put a cover over it. There was a kitchen, there was a shower and 2 rooms, I think less than this, 2/3 of this room and everything there. So I shifted there, and then I remained up to May 1967. I think I got heart attack. Difficulty, health difficulty. Then I went to Stinson's Beach. Then I could not improve my health. First of all, I went to San Francisco, right? There also, I could not sleep at night. Gee. There was throbbing in the heart. Kirtananda, he was serving me. So many difficulties. Then I came back to India in 67, July. Here also, not very much improvement. And again, I went to Los Angeles. There also one symptom developed, always some sound in the ear. Gong, 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 gong. Prabhupada just suffering. It was so disturbing, almost mad, and then to Los Angeles. But it did not deter him, everyone, from his service. He was having difficulty, but he was transcendentally positioned. Then I think I went to Seattle in this way. In the beginning, there were so many difficulties. Montreal, I took Canadian citizenship. Wow. America, I could not get. So one gentleman in the immigration department, he said, Swamiji, you can go to Canada. And from there, you could try. And then Yaśodā met Prabhupada in Expo 67. Very interesting. So there's a connection here. Remember, Prabhupada had only been operating since 65. Yaśodā met him in 67. So we're honored for him to be here and speak the pastimes of Prabhupada in our program. It will be easier. Actually, it acted. The Canadian Consulate General was a black man, American black man. So in the council, I applied for immigration. He was sympathetic. He saw my teachings of Lord Chaitanya and became attracted. So he settled up. That means he helped him, of course. The gentleman must be allowed. That's Prabhupada, to come to America. So he expected the matter within 3 months. And when I became immigrant in the USA, then again I came back to Los Angeles, and then we took up that house, the Cienega Boulevard. Prabhupada. That man also wanted to kick us out after 1 year. And we had no place. Then by Krishna's grace, we got this present, house present. At that time, I got $50,000. So I advanced them a down payment, and it was $225,000. And I think they're still paying $2,012 for 12 years. How many years passed? Hari, sorry, it was 1969. Yes, 68, I got immigration, and 69. It is a long history, checkered history. So preaching is independent. And here's the key right here, everyone. So if you've got a desire, you can preach in any circumstance, and Krishna will help you. I have practically experienced. I went to your country without any help, without any money, alone, and gradually things developed. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. What an amazing reading. What an amazing pastime. And we're all part of it. Let's move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava and then the reading and discussion on the Bhagavad-gītā As It Is with His Grace Yaśodā-nandana, who met Prabhupada in 1967 at Expo Canada. Thank you.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Muspa Paramahansa Parivrajaga-ācārya Sattva Smāda Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupāda ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai Nāma-ācārya Sri Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai Sri Radha Krishna Mo Gopinath Sam Khund Radha Khund Girivardhan ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai की जाए जमुना माई की जाए गुरु द्वारका धाम की जाए स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जाए ऑल ग्लोरीज टू देयर सिमर ऑल ग्लोरीज टू देयर सिमर थैंक यू वेरी मच
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam Namaskritya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat. Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Naranarayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavad-gītā. As we do every week, we will be reciting a few selected verses introduced by Srila Prabhupada himself in 1966 when he started his preaching mission in New York. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Sri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunathan Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitam Scha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatan Goswami, as well as Raghunath Dasa and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopala Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita-Ācārya, Gadada, Srivas, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates Sri Lalita and Vishaka. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Oh, my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavana. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vanchakalpa tarobhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are continuing our reading from the Bhagavad-gītā As It Is, the 1972 Macmillan edition, the non-adulterated, non-interpolated, non-modified version. We are on chapter 13 of the Bhagavad-gītā, on page number 632. False ego means accepting this body as oneself. When one understands that he is not his body and his spirit soul, that is real ego. Ego is there. False ego is condemned, but not real ego. In the Vedic literature, it is said, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, I am spirit. This I am, the sense of self, also exists in a liberated stage of self-realization. This sense of I am is ego. But when the sense of I am is applied to this false body, it is false ego. When the sense of self is applied to reality, that is real ego. There are some philosophers who say that we should give up our ego, but we cannot give up our ego because ego means identity. We ought, of course, to give up the false identification with the body. One should try to understand the distress of accepting birth, death, old age, and disease. There are descriptions in various Vedic literatures of birth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the world of the unborn, the child's stay in the womb of the mother, its suffering, etc., are all very graphically described. It should be thoroughly understood that birth is distressful, because we forget how much distress we have suffered within the womb of the mother. We do not make any solution to the repetition of birth and death. Similarly, at the time of death, there are all kinds of sufferings, and they're also mentioned in the authoritative scriptures. These should be discussed. And as far as disease and old age are concerned, everyone gets practical experience. No one wants to be diseased, and no one wants to become old, but there's no avoiding these. Unless we have a pessimistic view of this material life, considering the distresses of birth, death, old age, and disease, there is no impetus for our making advancement in spiritual life. As for detachment from children, wife, and home, it is not meant that one should have no feeling for these. They are natural objects of affection. But when they are not favorable to spiritual progress, then one should not be attached to them. The best process for making the home pleasant is Krishna consciousness. If one is in full Krishna consciousness, he can make his home very happy, because this process of Krishna consciousness is very easy. One need only chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Accept the remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna. Have some discussion on books like Bhagavad-gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam, and engage oneself in deity worship. These four will make one happy. One should train the members of his family in this way. The family members can sit down morning and evening and chant together Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If one can mold his family life in this way to develop Krishna consciousness following these four principles, then there is no need to change from family life to renounced life. But if it is not congenial, not favorable from spiritual advancement, then family life should be abandoned. One must sacrifice everything to realize or serve. But when he understood that these family members were impediments to his Krishna realization, he accepted the instruction of Krishna and fought and killed him. In all cases, one should be detached from the happiness and distress of family life, because in this world, one can never be fully happy or fully miserable. Happiness and distress are concomitant factors of material life. One should learn to tolerate, as advised in Bhagavad-gītā. One can never restrict the coming and going of happiness and distress. So one should be detached from the materialistic way of life and be automatically equiposed in both cases. Generally, when we get something desirable, we are very happy. And when we get something undesirable, we are distressed. But if we are actually on the spiritual platform, these things will not agitate us. To reach that stage, we have to practice unbreakable devotional service to Krishna. Without deviation means engaging oneself in the 9 processes of devotional service: chanting, hearing, worshiping, offering respect, etc., as described in the last verse of the 9th chapter. That process should be followed. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaham Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shigurave Namaham Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshataham Adadana Strinam Danteridam Yachi Punaha Punaham Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pekshako Nityam Tat Prishta Sat Karomi Svam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yes, Rupa Goswami, you have something? Rupa, okay. This particular section of the purport has some very, very important points. Srila Prabhupada is explaining very nicely what is the false ego. Because we see in the material world that everyone has a very high idea of themselves. When we carefully and systematically read and study the Bhagavad-gītā, we see that Lord Krishna gives so many instructions. In the 2nd chapter, after Arjuna surrendered to Krishna and told him, Shishyasteham Shadimam Taprapannam, that I have become your disciple. I have surrendered unto you, I become your disciple. So Krishna starts his instruction by explaining to Arjuna that a learned person does not speak in the way you have been speaking. And he gives them the first fundamental instruction, Dehinosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara, tata dehantara praptir dirastatra namuhyati. That the conditioned soul, it goes on from youth to babyhood to youth to old age. But the bewildered soul is not bewildered by the change. But Krishna says, Tata dehantara praptir. Deha antara means at the moment of death, one simply acquires another body. This is the first basic fundamental instruction of the Bhagavad-gītā. But the difficulty in understanding these descriptions in the material world is that people are overwhelmed with false ego. False ego means the false thinking that I am this body and that the possessions of the body are mine. This is explained in numerous places in the Bhagavad-gītā. It's not difficult to understand. It simply requires a little bit of care and attention to study how Prabhupada explains the false ego. If we look at Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 3, text 27, Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 3, text 27, Krishna explains, Prakrite kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by nature. Srila Prabhupada explains nicely in the purport, two persons, one in Krishna consciousness and the other in material consciousness, working on the same level, may appear to be working on the same platform, but there is a wide gulf of difference in their respective positions. The person in material consciousness is convinced by false ego that he is the doer of everything. He does not know that the mechanism of the body is produced by material nature, which works under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. The materialistic person has no knowledge that ultimately he is under the control of Krishna. The person in false ego takes all credit for doing everything independently, and that is the symptoms of his nescience. He does not know that this gross and subtle body is the creation of material nature under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such, his bodily and mental activities should be engaged in the service of Krishna in Krishna consciousness. Now, why is this so important? Because we do see when we study Prabhupada's preaching method, he quoted that verse so many different times. So many different times he comes back and reverts back to this verse. And there's another very important verse. Where did this false ego come from? If we look at Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 7, text 4. Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 7, text number 4. Bhumirapo nalu vayuhu kam mano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yamme binna prakritirashtada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. All together, these 8 comprise my separated material energies. So this is a very important point. When you look in the purport, in the last 2 paragraphs, Prabhupada explains, in the material energy, the principal manifestations are 8, as above mentioned. Out of these, the first 5 manifestations, namely earth, water, fire, air, and sky, are called the 5 gigantic creations, or the gross creations, within which, within which the 5 sense objects are included. They are the manifestations of physical sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Material science comprises these 10 items and nothing more. But the other 3 items, namely mind, intelligence, and false ego, are neglected by the materialists. Philosophers who deal with mental activities are also not perfect in knowledge because they do not know the ultimate source, Krishna. The false ego, I am and its mind, which constitute the basic principle of material existence, includes 10 sense organs for material activities. Intelligence refers to the total material creation called the Mahatattva. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada explains very systematically the whole difference between the material body, the mental body, and the spirit soul. Now, the problem comes in spiritual life when the devotee is not careful and does not sufficiently hear submissively from the spiritual master, is one can become influenced again by the false ego. One has to be very, very careful and be on guard at all times. That's why when initiation is given to a devotee, Srila Prabhupada used to explain very nicely the 10 offenses. And one of these offenses is to remain materially attached even after receiving the holy name in disciplic succession. Because the devotee is expected to understand and practice spiritual life, not to think that this is mine, this is my zone, and this is my temple, and this is my follower, and this is my money. This is all nonsense. All of this belongs to Krishna. It all belongs to Lord Chaitanya and the spiritual master. Very important point. Nice conversation from Srila Prabhupada on July 6th, 1976 in Washington, D.C. Thank you, Neil Sharma Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada, this is false ego. I am this matter, I am this body. This is false ego. Swarup Damodar, yes, but why it is? Prabhupada, ego is there, but this is false ego. Rupanuga, then by association with the modes, there is contaminated consciousness. Prabhupada, this false ego develops. Swarup Damodar, but still in this verse on 726, verse 14, it says there are 4 internal subtle senses. Now these 4 senses are mind, intelligence, ego, and the contaminated consciousness. Rupanuga, mano buddhiraham karas, chittam yatar antmakam, chaturda lakshate vedu, vritya lakshana rupaya. The internal subtle senses are experienced as having 4 aspects in the shape of mind, intelligence, ego, and contaminated consciousness. Distinctions between them can be made only by different functions, since they represent different characteristics. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The 4 internal senses or subtle senses described herein are defined by different characteristics. When pure consciousness is polluted by material contamination and identification with the body becomes predominant, this is called false ego. Consciousness is the function of the soul, and therefore behind consciousness there is soul. When consciousness is polluted by material contamination, this is called ahamkara. Prabhupada, bhunkte prakritya jan gunan, the same thing. Purushaha prakritista, bhunkte prakriti jan gunan. Swarup Damodar, is this ego mentioned here? Is it a false ego? That's what I understand, Prabhupada, not real. Real ego is, I am servant of Krishna, aham brahmasmi. Several times as part of our discussion in this program, we've quoted a verse given in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, where he summarizes the whole Vaishnava philosophy very simply, very easily. It says, Ekal Ishwar Krishna, there is only one transcendental controller, that is Lord Krishna. Artha Britya, all others are his servant. Very simple. 6 words, and he describes the essence of all Vaishnava philosophy, especially Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. And why is it that we forget? Why is it that some do not understand? Because of false ego. Now, we have all seen, we've all experienced, and we know that even though a devotee may be mentally aware of this conclusion, unless he's very careful, he can revert back again with this false ego, thinking, oh, this belongs to me, this belongs to you, this belongs to us. Very dangerous. One has to clear his mind and always follow the instruction of the Acharya. That is why Prabhupada recommended that devotees should read very nicely, morning and evening, Bhagavad-gītā, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and constantly remember Krishna. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion, there's a very important verse. Yena tena prakarena mara Krishna nishevaya. It explains that the whole idea of the practice of bhakti is to engage the mind, some way or other engage of the mind in thinking of Krishna. And then he explains further, Rupa Goswami explains the whole intent and purpose of following all these vidhi nisheda, all the rules and regulations and prohibitions, is simply to become a servant to this fundamental principle. Vidhi nisheda sur etayoriva kinkaraha. Kinkaraha means servant. That the whole idea of these rules and regulations is to some way or other think of Krishna. And this is not very difficult to do, because Prabhupada has given us the process very simply. Very simply, one can engage in Krishna consciousness, and this false ego can be cleared up very nicely. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada, yes. It is through the process of practice of devotional service that we develop our transcendental vision of who we are, why we were born, and what is the purpose of life. Because that's the problem with most people. They have no knowledge. They have no realization of who they are, and they're fully programmed what has been described as fake news. And what's fake news? Everything that's spoken. Especially if you think that you are a Canadian or an American or rich or pure or whatever designation you have. I'm an academic, I'm so small. These are all misidentification with the self. That's illusion. Now, this is a hard subject to comprehend, it seems, because really it's worthless. How much is the material body worth? Do you know? Do you know, Mother Ruchisha, how much it's worth? How much? Can you say? Is your microphone off? I'll give the answer. $78. That's how much it's worth. In chemical composition, $78. Unless you're selling organs. Unless you're a thief or a crook or a demon. It's worth nothing. This body is a vehicle for the spirit soul. That's it. It's a car. It's like an opportunity for us to get out of this material world. It's a very great instrument, yes, but if it's misused, it becomes a source of degradation and becomes a source of great suffering. The material world, you suffer here. You don't go without any difficulty generally. Look at Prabhupada, how he was going through his pastimes in the early years. He talks about his heart attacks again. My God. No, someone could think whatever they want about it, but the fact of the matter is it's still difficult. And Prabhupada, he demonstrated practically to all of us how advanced he was, even up to the last moments of his manifested presence. He did not demonstrate any external misery, suffering. He tolerated everything. Titiksha, a very tolerant person, very advanced, transcendentally positioned. And in this way, he set example for us. Whatever great men do, common men will follow. Whatever standards they set by exemplary acts, Krishna explains in the Gita, the whole world pursues. So it's up to each individual to set good example. It's not easy. We're all contaminated with so much, let's say, to use the term again, Nilesh Sharma, false ego. We all are affected by false ego. I know. I certainly am. And I'm working on it. Yeah, I'm trying to overcome it, overcome our difficulties. This is the problem in the material world. Well, there it is, set by example. There are two processes that we get knowledge and then we get realization. But the point is this, very carefully understand this. Is it simply by discipline that you make advancement? It's by sacrifice. It's a combination of things. It's not just one thing. There are multiple. Look, for example, the point of hearing. Hey, Michael, you hear the philosophy. Oh, it's so great. I like to listen. It's very entertaining. It's like anything, like a movie can be entertaining. You listen to it, it can be entertaining. You can watch TV, it's very entertaining. You can come to these programs. We try to make them entertaining. Okay, but is it just about hearing? No, it's about assimilating the information into our daily routine. Now, someone would say, years ago, actually it was a few years ago, one of our godbrothers, he called us running a boot camp. What do you guys think you're doing, running some kind of boot camp? What, micromanaging people? I didn't even, what the heck are you talking about, boot camp? You're in your own world there. And we were trying to stress the importance of chanting your rounds. So some people tell me, oh, I can't chant my rounds. Well, you can't do the basic principles. How do you expect to make advancement and become realized on the transcendental platform of devotional service if you don't practice the system? Practice makes perfect. And you would chant every day. Now, someone would say, well, you keep repeating it. Well, because you don't like to hear it because you're told to do it and you don't want to do it. So therefore, you call us a boot camp. We're some kind of sergeants in the army. What's coming to your house? Did you chant your rounds? Nobody's knocking at your door, Mr. So-called God brother. It's up to you. Krishna knows everything. Prabhupada said that recently in a lecture. Krishna knows everything that's going on. It's interesting to note, when Prabhupada says that, when he speaks those words, the sincere devotee actually gets the understanding. You look at yourself and go, oh yeah. Because otherwise you're forgetting. Because there's so many things that will let us forget Krishna by our circumstances. If you want to forget Krishna, Krishna will allow you, Krishna can make you forget him forever. Forever. So the mercy is to always remember Krishna. You remember Krishna by practicing Krishna consciousness on a daily basis. It's a discipline. Ron's saying, you know that. And it's not discipline that gets realization. It's sacrifice. And what do you sacrifice? Well, I'll tell you what you're supposed to sacrifice. And Prabhupada set the example. Just think about it when he came from India, Nilesh Sharma. Just think about it. It's hard for us to really visualize it, what really went down. But he left from Calcutta by himself. His one son, Vrindavan, came out to say goodbye. One person came to see him leave in the Jaladuta. And he crossed the ocean. He suffered all of the heart attacks. He went through the difficulty. He ended up in New York. He went through all the immigration, the trying to maintain the people stealing from him. His circumstances were very difficult, but he didn't give up. He never gave up his determination to serve because he understood the meaning of sacrifice, not simply discipline. And Prabhupada's whole pastime is an expose that inspired all of us, even in the early days and now in these days. It's inspiring. When we hear the story, it inspires us to understand this is my responsibility to sacrifice everything. Why? What are you giving up, Michael? When you give up something, are you really giving up anything? You give up the illusion that you're the body, that you can be happy on your own. There is no happiness in this world. Sage Prabhupada says it to Maharaj Nimi. Know it for certain, there is no happiness here, although we think we can be happy. That's another Maya, another false ego. So we're caught in this web of confusion. It's simple to get out, but it's difficult for some people to practice. Practice makes perfect. So talk is cheap. They always say that, Vijaya Pandit? You can say anything and people do. But internally, are they really interested in giving up the material conception? No. So that's why we hear. It's like a medicine. Like when you become sick, know it first. So please know for certain that the material world, there's no happiness. It's simply a mistake to think that there is happiness here because this place is full of nothing but material conditions. So the thing is that we are covered by the false ego. And just like a person that's diseased, they get a medicine, and then by constant application of that medicine, they become, and you're given directions by the physician to take it every day without fail. They don't say, oh, well, there's 15 pills, you only take, if you feel better after 5, don't do the 15. Do they say that? No. They say, well, if you have to do the whole thing. Oh, okay, I get it. So there is a specific prescription by Prabhupada, and he modified it down from 64 rounds to 32 rounds to 16 rounds. And that is the first step in getting out of the illusion. And then from there, you begin to progress, and you read the books, you study, you try to inculcate them in your brain. Okay, what's Prabhupada trying to teach you? Study everything. There's so much information for us. And in this way, Vijaya Pandit, what do you do then? You become inspired. Are you inspired? Yes, you are, by the way. I know you are. He's inspired. I know that. I see it by his practical behavior. You know how many years he's been distributing books, Nila Shama? 20 years he's been, and that's how he supports himself. And it's an honorable profession. Very honorable. He goes door to door. And by the way, I wanted to mention to you, Vijaya Pandit, I'm very experienced in door to door on many levels, not only as a devotee, but as a karmi. And that is probably the most effective way to reach people in any kind of business. You simply go door to door, boom, boom. And they can look at you and go, no thanks. And you just go to the next door and you keep going. And eventually, Krishna will help you if you're distributing books. And he does for Vijaya Pandit. And that through that, he gets practical realization of Krishna consciousness. We have other people in our group that also set really good example. For example, the devotees in Mexico, Krishna Kishore and his wife, they're amazing. These two people are very inspired, and they undertake Sankirtan every day. Every day. And not only are they doing that, they're spreading this Prabhupada consciousness not only in Mexico, but in Argentina, in Ecuador, and other countries. Yes, this couple. And I have the pleasure to meet them on a regular basis. Somehow or other, Krishna arranged for me to end up in Mexico. I'm still trying to figure that out, Mother Uchisha, how I ended up in the last year to make this transition. But somehow or other, it's happening. I'm just trying to follow it along. But the real blessing is that I've met these wonderful devotees. And they're very committed to preaching Krishna consciousness without change or adulteration. And they should be acknowledged as true followers of the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya. And we have lots of devotees like that. Yes, we do. We don't have a big, massive assembly, but we have good people. And we want good people because they make the difference. Yes, they do. And the more you step up in this association, the more you'll get recognized by Prabhupada and Krishna, and you'll make advancement. There'll be Vijnanam, realization, and when you leave this body, you'll leave this body in a state of transcendental awareness, and that is the secret of success. So we're going through these books, and we've been studying them. By the way, everyone, I am reading the Lilamrita right now. Oh my God, it's very interesting. I read it years ago, Ram Raghava. Yeah, I did read it years ago, and I've been reluctant to read it recently, in the last so many years, concentrating on mainly Prabhupada's books, but because of the work that we're doing, I'm looking at the history. And Satrup did do a detailed study. He interviewed me in 1978. He didn't use any of the stuff about Toronto Temple in any of the biography. Hardly, it was just useless. But that's him. But at any rate, I'm reading about it, and very, very informative. But at the same time, we have to be aware that this was never authorized by Srila Prabhupada for his disciples to write his biography. So therefore, in the early years, he's writing all this narrative. I'm not sure if it's true or not true, because it's taken from different sources and then fabricated by him in this story, like he's writing it like it's the baby childhood pastimes of Lord Chaitanya or Lord Krishna when he describes the early years. Like I said, I'm just reading it. So we'll go forward with that. But we are reviewing the writings and showing how he projected Prabhupada as just an ordinary person. That's the problem. And the reason he did that, but it's because he was not self-realized. He never really ever did Sankirtan, by the way, just so you know. No, he never went out. He just sat around behind his desk. He wanted to become a great author, and why not do it by writing this biography? And this will make you famous. And it's unauthorized, and it misrepresents who Srila Prabhupada was to the world, and this has to be corrected. And that's what we're doing with this section of the class, is that Yasoda's going to go to the unauthorized review of the biography, and he's going to go over some of the features today at this Bhagavad-gītā session. Yasodā-nandana Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
So we are reading from the Lilamrita Review, This is the authorized review of the unauthorized Lilamrita. We are reading from section number 2, page number 11. It is described, was Srila Prabhupada sorrowful and morose? The pure devotee is unaffected by dualities. Last week we read this page, and we're on page number 12, where Prabhupada explains here from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 11, text number 8. Canto 8, Chapter 11, text number 8. Following the advice of Krishna, Bhagavad-gītā 2:14, one should not be morose or unhappy because of circumstantial changes. This is the symptom of a devotee. A devotee carries out his duty in Krishna consciousness and is never unhappy in awkward circumstances. Then Srila Prabhupada explains from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 17, text 29. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 17, text 29. Those who are not Narayana Para, pure devotees, must be disturbed by this duality of the material world, whereas devotees who are simply attached to the service of the Lord are not at all disturbed by it. Despite the disturbing dualities in the material world, they are not disturbed at all, because they fix their minds on the lotus feet of the Lord. They do not feel the so-called pains and pleasures caused by the dualities of this material world. Srila Prabhupada explains in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 11, text 8. Canto 8, Chapter 11, text 8. For a learned person who sees how things are taking place, there is no question of being sorry or happy because of the waves of material nature. One who is fully conversant with the laws of nature is never jubilant or morose because of nature's activities. We cannot understand Srila Prabhupada's mood by direct sense perception, what to speak of understanding by looking at a photograph. One disciple once was given a photograph of Srila Prabhupada by His Divine Grace. The disciple saw it and commented, "You look sad in this photo, Srila Prabhupada." Srila Prabhupada corrected her, answering, "No, that was a moment of ecstasy." As neophytes, we have a tendency to consider the spiritual master through the restricted vision of our own conditioning. Either consciously or unconsciously, we have a tendency to think, if I do not experience material pain and pleasures, I will not enjoy the varieties of life. Therefore, if the spiritual master does not feel these varieties also, then he must similarly be situated in the void. Therefore, he must also be feeling the material world. But Srila Prabhupada explains in Nectar of Devotion, Chapter 29, that the pure devotee is like the ocean. Material happiness and distress are like the rivers, and Krishna is like the moon. So many rivers may enter the ocean, but the ocean remains calm and steady. However, when the moon rises in the sky, no one can check the ocean tide. Similarly, so many material happinesses and distresses may try to disturb the pure devotee, but he always remains undisturbed, calm, and steady. However, when the moon of Krishna rises in the pure devotee's heart, he becomes like a madman, full of transcendental emotions. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Back to the studio to you.
Yeah, it's a very enlivening section of our program, because what is it that inspires people in spiritual matters? To hear the truth. That's as simple as it is. It's like an injection, a potent injection when you're diseased. Because in the material world, we're in a diseased state. And the truth will, as it's quoted, will set you free. And a proper understanding of Prabhupada's position as a pure devotee how he acts, how he serves. This is very revealing for the disciples. That's why we study very detailed these matters, because we're learning. You can't learn unless you listen. So here we're stressing hearing. Oh yeah. Well, how much did you hear? Well, you hear as much as you can, because we're always doing something. We are. There's no question of that. Hey, Tom, in Germany, you're always doing something, aren't you? Like right now, you're listening, but you're also thinking. You're always thinking. We're doing something. So it's not a matter of that you're doing something. It's who you're doing it for. What's your focus? So we simply have to change the order. That's what Prabhupada explains. Whatever you do, you always do it with a spiritual intent instead of a material intent, which is most people's business. I'm doing it for me. I, me, and mine. No, I'm doing it to please like Jayananda. How did he serve? Yaśodā-nandana knows that. He only had one mentality. He was only trying to please Prabhupada by his actions. That was obvious to everybody that was around him, that he had a single focus. And that's what made him great. That was it. If you got to associate with him, you got a taste of what it meant to be surrendered to the pure devotee. And this is a simple thing. Why not? When you meet a great person, if you follow in his footsteps, like the pure devotee spiritual master, and do what he says, you'll get great benefit from this. And naturally, everybody wants the biggest result from everything they do. People invest money. They're not investing money to lose money. So simply change the order, Prabhupada said. That's all we're doing. It's not rocket science. It's a simple thing. There are only two types of people. Well, that's only two? Yeah. There's only two. Devotees and demons. What do you want to be? You want to be a demon or you want to be a devotee? Make your choice. It's that simple. And devotional service is described in the Shruta. Prabhupada talks about it so much. The Vedic, succinct explanations of truth that are contained in the Vedas. It's like CIF. Cost including freight. That's what Prabhupada says. He used these things, these succinct explanations of activity to conduct business. So we use this philosophy of Krishna consciousness. We read these verses over and over again, go over the Gita verses, the Srimad Bhagavatam, on, and we hear them over and over again. They're concise explanations of truth. And this constantly inspires us, Vijaya Pandit. It inspires us as people to carry on through this journey, Nila Shama, in time. That's what this is. We can misidentify with ourselves, like Ron sings. We can think we're American or Canadian or this or that. But actually, we're none of these things. We're simply servants of Krishna. And this will give us the insight that we need to pass time without wasting time. Prabhupada called it, this is Krishna technology. Ram Raghava, if you could look at our YouTube channel, any questions, or do you have a question for us, please?
It's Hare Krishna. There were up to 13 people watching. Right now, there are 9 people watching.
Okay.
No questions so far, but I have a question.
Yes.
It's a question about what we're reading in the purport from Bhagavad-gītā today. So we're reading about the processes of knowledge. And in devotional service, there are stages. It begins with Shraddha, a little faith, ends in Prema. There's one stage called Anartha Nivritti Shat, which means clearing of the unwanted habits, unwanted qualities. So my question is, how does this process of knowledge that we're reading relate to that stage? How long does it take, and what should we be consciously doing during that stage of Anartha Nivritti to help develop this knowledge and purify ourselves?
Yaśodā, please.
Well, Prabhupada has explained this in various ways in different lectures and in his books. And basically, this particular verse, Ado Shraddha, is from the Nectar of Devotion, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And it's the basic fundamental of bhakti. It's the actual, thank you, Neil Chandra Prabhu. It's let's go to the translation here. Prabhupada explains, in the beginning, there must be faith. Then one becomes interested in associating with pure devotees. Thereafter, one is initiated by the spiritual master and executes the regulative principles under his orders. Thus, one is freed from all unwanted habits and becomes firmly fixed in devotional service. Thereafter, one develops taste and attachment. This is the way of sadhana bhakti, the execution of devotional service according to the regulative principles. Gradually, emotions intensify, and finally, there is an awakening of love. This is the gradual development of love of Godhead for the devotee interested in Krishna consciousness. And the reason I wanted to read all of this so that devotees will understand the systematic process. Now, how long does it take? That depends on the devotee's seriousness. Just like, for example, in the Nectar of Devotion, it is explained that usually one cannot take to devotional service unless one has practiced this in his previous life. And we don't know what spiritual advancement a person may have done in his previous life. He may have done, a person, men or women, may have done considerable advancement and not able to finish. And then in this life, they're giving another opportunity to conclude. So we should be very respectful of everybody's attempt to progress in spiritual life and their march back to Godhead. And to come back to the original question of how long does it take? Prabhupada one time in Hawaii in Australia was asked a question by Madhavisa, how long does it take for the process to become Krishna conscious? And Prabhupada's reply is it can take 1 minute. It depends on the consciousness, the surrendering attitude, the seriousness, the dedication. It all depends, because we see practically, for example, when Prabhupada was there amongst us, right, between October of 1975 and November of 1977, how many people interacted with Srila Prabhupada? Probably many thousands, many millions, probably people saw or heard about Srila Prabhupada.
How many people take to be Krishna conscious?
How many people became devotees? How many people became initiated? Of all these initiated devotees. So in other words, there is an element, the chanting, the surrender, the service, the practice. If one becomes serious, then there is corresponding result. Interestingly, here we have a statement from the Nectar of Instruction, text number 7 in the purport. Srila Prabhupada explains, if one is sincere, he's initiated. And this stage is called bhajana kriya. One then actually engages in the service of the Lord by regularly chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra 16 rounds daily and refraining from illicit sex, intoxicants, meat eating, and gambling. By bhajana kriya, one attains freedom from the contamination of materialistic life. He no longer goes to a restaurant or hotel to taste so-called palatable dishes made with meat and onions, nor does he care to smoke or drink tea or coffee. He not only refrains from illicit sex, but avoids sex life entirely, nor is he interested in wasting his time in speculating or gambling. In this way, it is to be understood that one is becoming cleansed of unwanted things, anartha nivritti. The word anartha refers to unwanted things. Anartha are vanquished when one becomes attached to the Krishna consciousness movement. Very good choice of quote here. This is Srila Prabhupada's explanation of anartha nivritti. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Exactly. And it's interesting to note, everybody, that really when you describe the activities of a human being that are based on sense gratification, it's simply animal life. Animal, not human. In fact, the modern world, people act like animals, not humans, and Prabhupada described them as sophisticated cats and dogs. Sophisticated. So people think, we have become so advanced. No, we haven't. Yes, we're becoming advanced how to kill each other. If you ever go and visit the factory farms in America, if you ever went there, you wouldn't believe what you'd see. How they kill the animals. Billions of animals being killed every year. Billions and billions with the use of technology. There are two classes of men. There are the devotees and there are the demons. And we are living in the Kali Yuga, which is surrounding all of us with demoniac behavior. Neela Shama, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Krishna Prabhupada.
Jai.
Two things I wanted to kind of share today.
Okay.
It's interesting that you were talking about it. If anybody wants to see about these animals and how they're treated, you can go
Oh
to
my
this
God.
site called PETA.org, and they'll show you live videos about how things are treated. So that part is one. The second part I wanted to talk about is why are we reading this, what you call, the Tika, the critic of Srila Prabhupada's Leela Amrita. Here it is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, text 39. I would like to kind of explain here. Even the most learned men cannot understand the words and activities and symptoms of a person situated in love for Godhead. And this whole set of shlokas are meant for that. Then we go on to 40. Even a most learned scholar cannot understand the activities and symptoms of an exalted personality in whose heart love of Godhead has awakened. So just like how we read right now, is one lady was thinking that Prabhupada was sad, but actually turned out to be that he was in ecstasy, you see. So when a person is actually advanced and takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is very dear to him, he is agitated and loudly chants the name. He also laughs, cries, becomes agitated, and chants just like a madman, not caring for outsiders. Now, how does a person who is in this material world, now whether you follow any of the gurus or you follow us or you follow Srila Prabhupada, we all agree that Srila Prabhupada is the pure devotee of the Lord. But how can we interpret it? And when somebody tries to interpret it, you can understand at what level they are by understanding these particular shlokas of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then the last part which I wanted to talk about was what Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu quoted, Ekala Ishvara Krishna Ara Sabha Bhartya Yare Yaiche Naschaya Se Taichak Kare Nritya. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter 5, verse 142. Lord Krishna alone is the supreme controller. All others are his servants. They dance as he makes them do so. Now, when you hear this particular translation, what does it remind you? That Prabhupada was living this shloka. What did he say? What did he design or write down the poem when he saw the Boston skyline? Boro kripa hoile Krishna adha mera prati. He's requesting Krishna. He prays in that particular poem why have you brought me here, which is full of Rajogun and Tamogun? But you have got me here for some purpose. So make me dance. I will continue to dance the way you want me to dance. And this part and Boro Kripa, how it kind of correlates so well together. I'd love to know what Yasoda-nandana Prabhu has to say about it. Hare Krishna.
Yasoda-nandana Prabhu, if
Yeah,
you could
you
wind
are
up
raising some very, very good points.
the...
The one issue here is, like, we see so many descriptions in Srila Prabhupada's books of what he expects devotees to behave, the various standards of devotional service, what he expects us to follow, how he expects us to conduct ourselves, how he expects us to practice Krishna consciousness. And we've seen during his manifested presence how he practiced Krishna consciousness. The difficulty is like this. When people come to Krishna consciousness, they're being told that there's 4 regulative principles. Okay. Actually, there's 5 regulative principles. There's no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication, like that. The 5th regulative principle is no mental speculation. When people say no gambling, that includes that 5th principle, no mental speculation. And the reason is, in the material world, under the influence of false ego, which we've discussed today, under that influence of false ego, everybody is engaged in a path of mental speculation. And this is the difficulty, is that somebody may have a shaven head, the dhoti, the tilak, and so many, the devotional attire, but then the mind has to stop the speculation. And this is the very difficult thing that people have. In other words, what we have here is a situation where Prabhupada gives the instruction, and then there's some people think that they can invent their own way of interpreting Prabhupada's statements. That's why, if you recall, last Wednesday, on the Chaitanya Charitamrita reading, we were quoting from a letter to Prabhupada, where Prabhupada said, quote, "As soon as there is personal motivation, it is not possible to understand Krishna consciousness philosophy," unquote. In other words, in order to understand all these points that you're making, and all these points that Ram Raghava was mentioning, that everybody here discusses, this can only be understood when one gives up that false ego and comes to the platform of no personal motivation. What does that mean? Prabhupada explains in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, no desire for profit, adoration, and distinction. This is the distinction between material life and spiritual life. In the material world, okay, let's see here. Letter to Ishan and Vibhavata. Let's read the whole letter. Lately, there has been some misunderstanding amongst our devotees about Krishna consciousness philosophy. Particularly, there has been some confusion about the relationship between the spiritual master and Krishna. The Vedas say there is a master Krishna. This servant Krishna is the spiritual master, and this is the conclusion. The spiritual master is the mercy representative of the Supreme Lord, and as such is given honor as good as Krishna, but he is never identical with Krishna. Perhaps you know the picture of Madhvacharya, one of the great acharyas in our line, who's holding 2 fingers up to indicate Krishna and Jiva. The impersonalists hold 1 finger because their idea is that everything is one. So if we make the spiritual master identical with Krishna, then we will also become impersonalists. If we say that our spiritual master is Krishna, then the conclusion is that if we become spiritual masters someday, then we will also become Krishna. Please try to understand how dangerous this kind of reasoning is. In my books, I've tried to explain this clearly, this simultaneously one and different philosophy, Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, propounded by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But sometimes it happens that this philosophy is given a self-interested interpretation. As soon as personal motivation comes in, it is not possible for one to understand our Krishna consciousness philosophy. So this is very clear by Srila Prabhupada what he's expecting. And the reason is like, there is example of the brother of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, who was living in Birnagar. His brother Lalit Prasad Thakur was there. So Prabhupada visited him, and there were discussions of how to improve his property. They were talking about either buying the property or leasing the property, and that society was going to invest a lot of money to clean the place up and expand and everything. And then this devotee, very senior devotee, Lalit Prasad, told Prabhupada, yes, you can have this, but I have to remain the guru here. And Prabhupada did not say much. Afterwards, Prabhupada commented, just see, even after giving up all lust and ambition, this desire is still there. This desire for personal ambition is still there. So this is a very difficult situation to overcome. And we've seen this with many different colleagues and contemporaries. They cannot give up that desire. In other words, instead of fulfilling that function that Prabhupada gave them just as a service, they took it that this is now a position, that they could dominate and subjugate other devotees and concoct and manufacture so many crazy interpretations. One has to be very careful about that. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yes. And, further, I wanted to say, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, that Prabhupada clarifies a person's ability to understand the philosophy. He uses the term capacity. For example, Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti Shabhyate. What is your capacity? Do you understand Krishna as impersonal Brahman? Can you understand that Krishna is situated in your heart as the super soul? Do you understand that Krishna is Bhagavan in six opulences, who is engaged in eternal pastimes in the spiritual realm? What is your capacity? How do you determine capacity? Is everybody equal? Does everybody have the same capacity? No, they don't. They think they do, but they don't. And it's demonstrated by their behavior, how they act, what they say, what they do. So capacity. Some people have more capacity to understand Krishna consciousness than other people. And somehow or other in our situation, we've seen a lot of people don't have a capacity to properly hear. They can't hear because they haven't qualified themselves. That's right. For example, someone could present themselves as a guru. Okay. But they never chanted 16 rounds for 30 years. You're a guru, you're fraudulently presenting yourself as a guru, but you don't practice the philosophy that was taught by our spiritual master to be considered even to give good instruction and example to other people. Are you a guru? No, you're a fraud. You're a liar. You're in the closet. A lot of people, they're like that. They live in the closet. They pretend. It's interesting. I don't want to go off because we're going to end up the program, but I was talking to one of my friends about the Catholic Church. Okay. And I had no idea. Now, I can be corrected because I'm repeating this from other people. Nila Shama, they're claiming now that 90% of the priests are gay. Wow. Is it true or not? We can look it up. I know a lot of them are. But this is the point. Sure, they're going to be celibate because they're not with women because they're gay. This is all mundane religion, mundane religiosity. And so, you know, it affects everyone and everything. And so we have to be aware of what is going on in this world. It is a insane asylum. Do you hear me? It's insane. That's what it is. And we're trying to become sane by getting properly guided by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. And we want to thank you all for attending today. Thank you. This is a chance for us to liberate ourselves out of this, what I call the madhouse of material life. It's mad, especially Kali Yuga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We're going to move forward. And remember, we'll be back tomorrow with Srimad Bhagavatam from the Delhi Bhagavatams. And we have some surprises we'll announce soon. We're not going to say anything, but it's going to be good. And we'll go forward with the chanting of the holy name led by Srila Prabhupada, 2 minutes and 54 seconds. I'm going to forget it sometime. I'm going to say 2:57. I know it. But I've kind of got it in my mind, Ram Raghava, thank you. It's like the other day, I went to take money out of the bank and I put in the wrong password. And all the accounts were canceling to me. I'm going, what's going on? And I forgot just one letter and that was it. Goodbye. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Let's go for the chanting. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and we're full of compassion for the fallen souls. Thanks everybody for coming to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavad-gītā. Thanks Vishwakarma Prabhu in Hamilton, Ontario, Neil Sharma Prabhu in Florida. We have our good friend Ram Raghava Prabhu in Brighton, Georgia, Vijay Pandit in Douaiville, Italy, near Venice, Rochisa Mataji dans la belle province, Quebec. Krishna Kata, we haven't seen his face, but he's got the beautiful Srimad Bhagavatam right there. His ends are showing. Michael Dillon in Yuba City, California. Bhaktatam in Germany. And we have Shiv Narayana Prabhu from Japan. Triloka Vijaya in Florida. Rupa Goswami in Bombay, India, and everybody participating. Thank you. Please come tomorrow morning for the Srimad Bhagavatam reading and discussion at 7 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time, corresponding to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Please join us for 2 minutes or so. I don't know exactly how many seconds, for a beautiful kirtan with some Jamaican Vaishnava devotees. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.